Part 35. Start, Invincible, met the Empress's apprentice. Author, Ben Pao de la Chang. Chapter 341. Only the Emperor can hear the middle-aged man's words clearly. Xuanhuan, who was in the heavenly palace, immediately widened his eyes after hearing the words sword immortal, and his pupils kept trembling, as if he heard something extremely terrifying, but also made him extremely excited. Sword immortal. Isn't this, the founder of our fairy sword heavenly palace? Does he know our sword immortal ancestor? Just as Xuanhuan was about to show up, he heard an ancient voice coming from the depths of the heavenly palace. Wuhan, don't get excited yet. After hearing these words, Xuanhuan said with great excitement. Ancestor, you are awake. The owner of this voice is none other than the previous generation's palace master of the immortal sword heavenly palace, Xuanhuan, a mythical emperor. Of course I noticed such a big movement. I guess that old guy will wake up soon. Xuanhuan's voice came slowly. You mean, third ancestor? Nonsense, in the heavenly palace, he and I are the only ones sleeping here. Ancestor, you also heard what I said just now. How can I not be excited? Maybe we can learn about the sword immortal ancestor from it. Xuanhuan's whole body trembled and he couldn't help but said excitedly. Of course I'm excited too, but our strength doesn't qualify us. Xuanhuan glanced at Xuanhuan and said slowly. Ancestor, what does this mean? Could it be that you, a mythical emperor, have no strength? You must know that the mythical emperor is also the top existence in the world. Xuanhuan said without knowing why. Haha, you underestimated that drop of blood. If I feel it right, the owner of this drop of blood is a forerunner. And this is just the limit of what I can perceive. Maybe the owner of this drop of blood has even more unfathomable strength. Xuanhuan swallowed and said. Oh. In one sentence, Xuanhuan was completely confused. Forerunners, ordinary people may not care about it, because they don't understand it at all. Only when they reach the great emperor can they know the value of these three words. What's more, there's the sentence that follows. It seems that we are indeed not qualified. Xuanhuan said dully. Let those three people understand first. But, their strength. Haha, don't worry, they are qualified. If I'm right, the nine-headed lion should be the great emperor, and the female creature is the supreme. Xuanhuan said slowly. Supreme. That woman is actually supreme. Xuanhuan said in horror. Yes, not only that, she also has an aura about her. I think you will be surprised. Xuanhuan said with a smile. Ancestor, stop nagging and tell me quickly, I'm almost dying of anxiety. Xuanhuan urged. Eldar. That woman has the aura of the spirit race on her body. Boom. This sentence once again confused Xuanhuan. He could never have imagined that there would be a supreme being of the spirit clan right under his nose. Ling, clan, how is this possible? So, I want you to stop getting excited and don't alert the snake. Xuanhuan put away his old naughty attitude and said with a serious face. Then, that man in white. I can't see through that man in white, including his realm, age, and other things. However, he does not have the aura of the spirit race on him. Xuanhuan sighed. By the way, ancestor, let me tell you something. Later, Xuanhuan told Li Bai's look and the picture he saw. Oh, how terrible it is. I'm afraid, this kind of existence is unimaginable to us, maybe it's the same as our sword immortal ancestor. Now, they appear in our immortal sword heavenly palace and are familiar with everything on the road to immortality. I really don't know whether this is a good thing or a bad thing. Xuanhuan shook his head and said, this matter is too difficult. It would be fine if Li Bai and the other three did not have any malicious intentions. If they did, a spiritual clan supreme and a man in white whose strength might be comparable to the sword Immortal, with the current immortal sword Heavenly Palace, I'm afraid. Ancestor, I can feel that this man in white may not have any malicious intent. Because, at that time. Immediately, Xuanhuan said exactly what Li Bai said at that time. Is there something we want to know? What is meant? Xuanhuan frowned, his face full of gullies crowded together. Suddenly, a ray of light pierced Xuanxi's mind, recalling everything on the road to immortality, and Xuanxi made a bold guess. Could it be that the senior in white is talking about the sword Immortal Ancestor? Ancestor, are you saying that this man in white knows our sword Immortal Ancestor? I dare not make rash remarks, but even if I don't know him, he must know our sword Immortal Ancestor very well. Otherwise, why would he know all the secrets on the road to becoming an immortal? There are some secrets that even we don't know. Xuanxi said seriously. Forget it, let's just wait and see what happens. As long as there is no malice, just let these horrible beings do whatever they want. Okay, Ancestor. On the other side, after hearing this, Li Bai said calmly. Do you know the sword Immortal? It's none of your business. Do I need to answer you? Who are you? You are only the Supreme One. You have no right to ask me. Also, do I know you, little ant? The middle-aged man said with a bad temper and arrogance. Hearing this, Ling Mei beside him opened his red lips, with a look of confusion on his face, as if he was looking at a fool. Obviously, he didn't know Li Bai, and then complained in his heart. Tisk tisk, it's really fearless when you don't know. This is the first time I have seen someone who dares to speak like this in front of the White Emperor. However, what Ling Mei didn't expect was that Li Bai didn't have any angry expression on his face, and he was still calm. Although you don't know me, but, I know you. One of the ancestors of the monster origin world, nicknamed Goshenzi, right? Li Bai said with a faint smile. Start, Invincible, met the Empress's apprentice. Author, Ben Pao de la Chang. Chapter 342. After hearing Li Bai's words, the man with a vague face was obviously stunned for a moment. He obviously didn't expect that Li Bai knew his identity. Not only that, he also knew his name. Immediately, the man changed the topic and his tone was full of gravity. Who are you? How do you know my name, my identity, and the world where monsters originate? Li Bai did not answer, but said. Now, am I qualified to talk to you? After a long silence, the middle-aged man nodded. How could someone who could identify himself at a glance and know about the ancestral beast be disqualified? Very good, let me ask you, have you met the sword Immortal, or do you know him? Li Bai slowly asked his first question. Yes, I do know him. Is he still alive? Sorry, I don't know this. After all, I am just a drop of my blood now, and I no longer understand many memories. The middle-aged man said slowly. Then why are you here? Because of the contract. Your contract with the sword Immortal. That's right, since you can recognize my identity, you should also know that in that battle, our world of origin of monster beasts was completely destroyed, and all the ancestor beasts of the first generation also perished. And as a second generation ancestral beast, I naturally couldn't escape their pursuit. At this point, the middle-aged man did not continue. After all, Li Bai could probably guess what happened next. So he took a drop of your blood and deposited it into the immortal path just to find a successor. Li Bai said lightly. That's right, but I didn't expect that what was waiting for me this time was just a low-blooded lion. Damn it, young master, I am also a nine-headed lion after all, and now I am still a great emperor. Why am I of low blood? Urguzi, who was listening carefully on the side, said angrily after hearing this. Urguzi, don't interrupt. Ling Ye on the side immediately covered Ergoza's mouth. Having said all that, who are you? Immediately, the middle-aged man looked at Li Bai and asked with great confusion. My identity. There are many, I don't know, which one do you want to know about? Li Bai said with a smile. Well, at our level. No problem. After Li Bai finished speaking, he pointed at the middle-aged man. In an instant, a picture appeared in the middle-aged man's mind. Soon, the middle-aged man's expression began to change constantly, from calm, uneasy, and panic at the beginning, to panic and fear. However, his face has been covered by a fog and cannot be seen. Or actually. Before he finished speaking, the middle-aged man knelt down directly in front of Li Bai, his tone full of fear. No one knows what he just saw. One of the ancestral beasts in the world of monsters and beasts, Goshenzi, has met you. Get up. Li Bai said lightly. At this moment, Xuanhuan and Xuanxi, who were in the heavenly palace, had their eyes wide open. Holy shit, oh shit, oh shit, ancestor, did you see it, did you see it? I'm not blind, I can see. Such a being actually knelt down in front of the man in white. What kind of identity does he have? I feel like I can't solve this matter either. Xuanxi swallowed and said uneasily. He was filled with fear when he thought that after the road to immortality was over, Li Bai would come to the heavenly palace to talk to them. As long as you are a living being, no matter what state you are in, you will always be most afraid of the unknown. On the other side, Li Bai said slowly. Now, I let Ergoza inherit, do you still think you are not qualified? You are qualified, that's so qualified. The middle-aged man said flatteringly, just kidding, this lion belongs to this uncle, how could he not be qualified? After saying that, the middle-aged man returned to the state of a drop of blood again. Okay, Ergoza swallows him, but don't refine it yet, just put it in the inner universe. Li Bai said to Ergoza, who was in a daze. Oh, good master. After saying that, Ergoza directly incorporated this drop of blood into his inner universe. After a while, Ergoza said to Li Bai. Master, he said he has a request, can you agree to it? Explain. He wants you to have a chance to rescue me in the future. Ergoza said cautiously. His true self is not dead. Li Bai said doubtfully. Yes, master, he said that he can sense that I am not dead now. After thinking about it, Li Bai agreed to this request. Anyway, he would have to confront those origins in the end. Okay, next, it's the Lingbian. After saying that, the three of them stepped onto the 990 steps. The same thing is to solve the shadow in one move. Sir, what should I do? Ling Biao looked at Li Bai and asked slowly. Haha, don't be nervous, because this is just a picture of the place where you were born. Similarly, if you drop a drop of blood on the steps, there will be something you want to know. Li Bai said slowly. When Ling Ai heard this, she was instantly at a loss. After all, Li Bai told her that he came from the land of eternity, and his parents are still alive. However, this confusion disappeared in an instant, and then she slowly forced a drop of blood from her fingertips to drip on the steps. At the same time, the steps seemed to feel something, and rays of light continued to pour into Ling Biao's mind. In this picture, Ling Ai saw his parents, saw the battle between the two factions, and also saw a figure in white causing the entire eternal land to perish. After a long time, Ling Ye's eyes were red from crying and her whole body was shaking. It turned out that her parents loved her so much. Don't worry, I will definitely do what I promised you. After all, there is some reason for this on my part. Li Bai's big hand gently stroked Ling Biao's hair and said with a smile. At this moment, Ling Biao jumped directly into Li Bai's arms, trying to find a little comfort. Seeing this scene, Urgoza turned his head away unconsciously. He always felt that the scene was a bit killing. Sir, I don't blame you for this. On the contrary, I want to thank you. If you hadn't destroyed the Eternal Land, maybe my parents would have been. Okay, stop crying, you are a supreme person after all. Li Bai said with a smile that part of the reason why she helped Ling Biao was because she destroyed the Eternal Land. After all, Ling Biao's parents had helped Xiaoju. The bigger part was because she and Xiaoju were very close. Like, of course referring to some characters. Immediately, Ling Biao seemed to notice something and hurriedly broke away from Li Bai's arms. I'm sorry, sir, I made you laugh. It doesn't have to be like this, just keep walking. Don't you want to know the secrets of the last level of this road to immortality? Li Bai said slowly. Okay, my lord. Good master. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Start, Invincible, met the Empress's apprentice. Author, Ben Pao de la Chang. Chapter 343. Then, the three of them began to continue climbing until they reached the last 7 floors. Countless disciples began to breathe quickly. After all, these floors were all the ancestors of the immortal sword heavenly palace. The result was no different from before. The three of them still solved it with just one move. Of course, no one felt any surprise, they just wanted to see what their ancestors looked like when they were young. After Li Bai and the other three eliminated the last layer of phantoms, a mountain roar and tsunami sounded in the immortal sword palace. I've reached the summit. After all these years, I finally see someone who has reached the summit. Yes, although these three are great emperors, they are still in the realm of saints after all. Although they are in the realm of the Holy Lord, after all, they have the battle experience of the great emperor and other things. You must know that our ancestors did not become emperors at that time. While everyone was still having a heated discussion, in an instant, the entire immortal sword heavenly palace was shaking continuously, as if an earthquake was coming. Holy shit, what's going on? There's an earthquake. I don't know. Is it possible that a powerful enemy is coming? After a moment, I saw a ray of light suddenly released from the immortal sword mountain, and in this ray of light, there was an extremely misty sword intent, as if it came from a fairy sword from heaven, and the source could not be traced. Then, a scene that stunned countless people appeared. The road to immortality, which originally had only 999 levels, now had an extra level of steps out of thin air, turning it into 1,000 levels. Damn it, look at the road to immortality, I'm numb. How is it possible? Since the advent of the road to immortality, there have only been 999 levels. 1,000 levels, I really didn't expect that the road to immortality actually has 1,000 levels. Of course, Xuanhuan and Xuanxi are still very calm about all this. After all, they know that the road to immortality has 1,000 levels, but since the creation of the road to immortality, no one has ever climbed it, not even the first generation palace. So is the Lord. Ancestor, when will the third ancestor wake up? Xuanhuan asked anxiously from the side. The appearance of the 1,000 levels of the immortal road is of great importance. It's coming soon, don't worry, you also know how difficult it is to wake up when a supreme being has fallen into a deep sleep for endless epochs. Xuanxi said slowly from the side. Everything that happened today is really beyond my understanding. I once thought that after I stepped into the great emperor, I would be qualified to understand everything in the heavens and the world. Now it seems that I have just stepped into this threshold. Xuanhuan said disappointedly. Wuhan, it doesn't have to be like this. If you can become the immortal emperor at this age, you have already surpassed most of the creatures in the world. However, there are some creatures that we cannot compare with. For example, the sword immortal ancestor, or this man in white? Xuanhuan consoled him from the side. Don't worry, ancestor, I'm just a little frustrated. On the other side, Urgoza's eyes widened, full of doubts. Damn it, didn't you say that there is only the 999th floor, and the immortal sword heavenly palace actually hid it? Haha, for most people, there are indeed only 999 floors. This is not a secret. Okay, without further ado, let's climb to the top. After Li Bai finished speaking, he took Ergozi and Lingye directly to the first step. The moment they stepped on it, an inexplicable force immediately enveloped Li Bai and the three of them. The next moment, the three people's figures disappeared directly and came to an inexplicable space. Disappeared, their figures disappeared. I'm really curious as to what's on these 1,000 steps. Hey, do you think you can become emperor directly? It is indeed a fatal temptation for us, but, these three are originally great emperors. At this moment, in this space, Li Bai and the others are looking carefully. It's strange, I feel like this space seems to have no laws of time. Urgoza said doubtfully. Indeed, it seems that the power of time cannot affect this place. Not only that, the atmosphere here is also extremely strange and does not belong to any place. Even as a supreme spirit, I can't see through this weird space. It's normal that you can't see through it. After all, this is a corner of someone's inner universe, and it also incorporates a ray of creative origin. It's a pity that it has been abandoned for a long time, and the laws of time, space, and other heavens here have long since expired. At this moment, Li Bai on the side seemed to have seen through everything and said to the two of them. Master, what did you just say? Someone's inner universe. How is this possible? Can the inner universe be divided? Urgozi asked with a horrified look on his face. The inner universe of an ordinary emperor is naturally impossible to divide, but what if it is a creator? Li Bai said with a smile. Creator. After Lingye heard this word, his head suddenly shut down. Creator, such a strange word. Urgoza said with a confused look on his face. After all, he had only been promoted to emperor not long ago, so naturally he didn't know much about the realm behind him. Little bumpkin, you have just been promoted to emperor, so you definitely don't understand. Later, Lingye told Ergozi about the realm after the great emperor. Omega Omega. Damn it, this is too damn strong. The mythical emperor is in a state that I can't even imagine, let alone the state of the supreme queen. Then, Ergozi glanced at Li Bai and said in his heart. Tisk tisk, I wonder if the master is a creator. I am not a creator. Li Bai's words almost scared Ergozi to death. Master, can you listen to my heart? I still need to listen to this. I can tell what you are thinking by looking at the look in your dog's eyes. Li Bai glanced at Ergozi and said. He, nothing can be hidden from the master. At this moment, Li Bai shouted to this space. Come out, don't hide. After a while, there was a hearty laugh. Ha ha ha, this fellow Taoist, I really can't hide it from you. Then, a man in fairy clothes slowly appeared in front of the three people. His temperament was like a misty and ethereal fairy in the world, and his appearance was even more handsome. Of course, in addition to these, what attracted the most attention of the three people was that this person had a wisp of sword intent on his body, which could bury the heavens and the worlds in the next moment. This sword intent was the most terrifying sword intent Ling Mei had ever felt. Even some of the old immortals of the Ling clan who specialized in swordsmanship could not reach the sword intent. Start, Invincible, met the Empress's apprentice. Author, Ben Pao de la Chang. Chapter 344. Hello, three handsome men and beauties, tisk tisk, I didn't expect you to be able to reach here, you are so awesome, I can see that your talents are very enchanting. I don't know how many epochs have passed, but this clone has almost dissipated. I'm finally waiting for the person who can inherit it. As soon as this man's voice came out, Li Bai and the others were immediately shocked, because the voice really didn't match his appearance. Damn it, it's so hard to hear that. Where did this damn duck come from? The two dogs howled loudly. It is unimaginable that a man who is like an immortal has a drake voice, and it is extremely harsh. It doesn't sound good. Why does it sound so bad? Please, it has always been like this for countless epochs. Sometimes you should look for your own reasons. Maybe your ears are not working properly. Don't talk nonsense with your eyes open. The sword fairy said disdainfully. You. SHH, answer my question first. Xianjian Tiangong, how is it now? The man stopped Ergozi from asking questions and asked hurriedly. Not bad, now it is one of the top forces in the upper realm for all eternity. Li Bai looked at the man in front of him and already guessed his identity. Ha ha ha, that's not bad. These juniors are pretty good, and they didn't let the fairy sword heavenly palace go into desolation. After hearing this, the man laughed and said, the laughter was extremely harsh. Then, they looked at Li Bai and the other three. I have the blood of a 9-headed lion, but if I can become an emperor, I can still be a gatekeeper. Damn it, you have a drake voice and you have the nerve to say that this lion is a gatekeeper. How dare you say this? When Ergozi heard this, he immediately started scolding the man. Damn it, you lion, why are you scolding so harshly? Leave me alone. I'm in a good mood today and won't argue with you, otherwise I'll definitely roast you. After finishing speaking, he ignored the arrogant Ergozi and looked at Ling Baiao's side. With just one look, Ling Baiao's physique, realm, and other things were all at a glance. Oh, yes, there is a person who can catch your eye. He can reach the supreme realm at this age. It shows that his talent is very evil. Little sister, what is your name? The man stared at Ling Baiao and said. Senior, my name is Ling Yet. Spirit Sleeve. A person from the Spirit Clan. The man said slowly. No, Senior, I am not from the spiritual clan. On the contrary, I have a blood feud with the spiritual clan. Ling Baiao said, neither humble nor arrogant. Since you are not from the spiritual clan, why do you have the aura of the spiritual clan on your body? No, you still have a ray of eternal power in your body. You are a creature from the eternal land. Answer me yes. After carefully observing Ling Bian, the man suddenly said, his tone suddenly rising. It can be seen that this discovery really surprised him. Afterwards, his eyes were always on Ling Baiao. After a while, Ling Baiao slowly looked at Li Bai, as if asking for his opinion. When Li Bai nodded slightly, Ling Baiao said. Senior, you guessed it right, I am indeed a creature from the eternal land. What faction is your family from? Peace faction. As expected, I really didn't expect to see people from the peaceful faction of Eternal Land in the Eternal Upper Realm. It's really rare. How did you come to the Eternal Upper Realm, and why do you have the aura of the spirit race on your body? The man asked again. After hearing this, Ling Yong explained the process in a leisurely manner. So that's it? This spirit race is really not a toy. It actually wants to obtain eternal power. Haha, it is destined to fall short. There was no movement in the man's eyes after hearing this, he just rubbed his chin and said. After a long time, I heard the man sigh. However, just such a sigh, in the eyes of Ling Ai and Ergozi, they only feel horrified, as if, with a sigh, the era will no longer exist. Alas, what a pity, the eternal land was destroyed by a big shot. But, that's fine. If they are not destroyed, they will attack all the worlds sooner or later. However, it's a pity that your faction has been slaughtered by the attacking faction. Not many of them have been produced. In that case, have you also seen the scene on the 999 steps on the road to immortality? The man said slowly. Yes, senior. Oh, in that case, did this watchdog also absorb the drop of blood from the ancestral beast? Well, it has indeed been absorbed, but it hasn't been refined yet. Silly dog, you are lucky. If you can successfully refine and absorb it, you can upgrade from watchdog. The man looked at Ergozi and said. Damn it, if you curse again, believe it or not, I will bite you to death. Ergozi said through gritted teeth. Ha ha. Rightward arrow. Rightward arrow. After finishing speaking, the man withdrew his gaze and focused on Li Bai. Damn it, he's so handsome, he's even more handsome than me. Tisk tisk, this temperament is better than me. After finishing speaking, the man was ready to take a thorough look at Li Bai. At this glance, the man's face showed a strange and suspicious look. It's strange that I can't see through you. Not only that, but your fate and cause and effect are all nothing. You want to know my identity? Li Bai said with a smile. I really want to know. Of course, if you don't tell me, I won't force you. The man nodded and said. It means nothing if you say it, but I know your identity. Sword Immortal, right? A person at the top of the Eternal Emperor list. Li Bai said with a smile, his face was extremely calm, and there was no trace of any disturbance. Hearing these words, the man was stunned for a moment, and then his whole temperament and expression changed. Yes, I am indeed the Sword Immortal. Hearing the man admitting his identity, Ergozi and Ling Baiao's pupils kept trembling. They couldn't believe that the man in front of them was actually one of the top 10 Sword Immortals in the Eternal Emperor ranking, the strongest group in all the worlds. People. However, these words came from Li Bai's mouth at this moment, so they couldn't help but not believe it. Damn it, just now, I actually quarreled with the Sword Immortal. Tisk, tisk, I'm so awesome, no. Sister Ling will I die? Ergozi looked like he had seen a ghost. Bless yourself. Ling Baiao said with a smile. If I guess correctly, the first generation palace master of the fairy sword Heavenly Palace, that explorer, is your clone, right? Li Bai once again dropped shocking news. Ha 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 ha, yes, tisk tisk, you are indeed a person who even I can't see through. Did you find out from the sword mark in Immortal Sword Mountain? The man looked at Li Bai and said. That's right, but I only confirmed it after seeing you. Li Bai said lightly. I'm really becoming more and more curious about your identity. Tell me how you can tell me. It's very simple, fight me twice. Start, Invincible, met the Empress's apprentice. Author, Ben Pao de la Chang. Chapter 345. Li Bai said with a smile. After all, he had never seen the Sword Immortal before, and he also wanted to know the strength of the top 10 in the Eternal Emperor ranking. Similarly, he also wanted to know how the top 10 people in the world compared with the rest of the origin world. After all, this is related to the direction of the results of this experiment and whether your bet is correct. Is it that simple? Yes, after all, I also want to see how strong the Sword Immortal, the number 1 sword in all the worlds, is. Of course, we only need to make one move. Li Bai said slowly, at the level after the explorer, when the two sides fight, it only takes one move to know the difference. No problem, but this first sword is just a false name. I just copied it after seeing the sword intention left by a senior at that time. Speaking of which, that senior is the first sword. One sword. The man shook his head and said without any reservation. Hearing this sentence, Lingya and Ergozi were stunned for a moment. They didn't expect that the best sword of all time was actually copied from someone else's. How the hell is this possible? If a powerful swordsman just copied other people's sword intentions, he could reach the top 10 in the Eternal Emperor ranking. Then, how terrifying would that person be? Thinking of this, Ling Ai and Urgozi could no longer imagine it. After all, it was beyond their knowledge. Copying? Where to copy? Li Bai asked slowly. I really can't remember it for a while, don't worry about it, let's hurry up. No problem. You two stay away. Li Bai said to the two of them. Whizzing. After saying that, Ergozi and Ling Biao turned into a stream of light and ran very fast. In the blink of an eye, they had retreated no matter how far they were. The speed made them wish they had an extra pair of legs. Fortunately, the space was big enough. Nonsense, if you don't run far away, you might be caught in the aftermath of the two men's fight. Sister Ling I really didn't expect that just a corner of the universe within the sword immortal could be so vast. I feel it is bigger than the upper world of eternity. The two sighed after ensuring a safe distance. After all, they are among the top 10 in the Eternal Emperor list. They are the 10 most talented emperors in the entire universe. Sister Ling who do you think will win, Master or the Sword Immortal? Never doubt your strength, you can't imagine your strength. Ling Bian glanced at Ergozi and said. Ah, why, Sister Ling do you know anything? After hearing these words, Ling Biao said secretly in his heart. Nonsense, after all, the Master destroyed the entire Eternal Land. I'm telling you, you don't understand either. You just need to remember that no one in the entire universe is my Master's opponent. On the other side, Li Bai and Jianxian looked at each other, and their gazes collided with each other, making the whole space tremble. Who strikes first? The man asked slowly. You take action first. Good. However, we still have to stop our efforts, otherwise, with one move, this space will become nothingness. No problem. Then, the man didn't waste any time and directly used the first sword. The first sword, Ragnarok, all worlds wither. After saying that, the sword fairy directly pointed his sword and drew it out with one stroke. In an instant, a ray of sword light illuminated the entire space, and at the same time, a sword intent that seemed to be able to annihilate all heavens and worlds, seal the era, and sink into eternal sinking suddenly burst out. This sword is astonishing for all ages. Even if we explore the historical era and span the long river of time, there is no such amazing sword in all the worlds. Hum, hum, I'm going to die, I'm going to die. This sword intent is too terrifying, and too amazing. Is this the best sword in all eternity? Ergozi and Ling Biao, who were far away from each other, could also feel the horror of the sword intent. If they had not used the power of the Emperor to protect themselves in time, they would have perished at this moment, but even so, the two of them I still feel as if I have stepped into the abyss of death and am unable to struggle. You know, this is the sword spirit compressed by an unknown amount by the sword immortal. If it is used with all its strength, the entire upper realm of eternity may be gone. But at this moment, Li Bai's face showed a trace of surprise. Of course, what surprised him was not this terrifying sword intention, but the sword intention itself. Because he is very familiar with this sword intention, and it can even be said that it is the sword intention he has used before. Yes, this sword was exactly the sword technique he used when he destroyed the Eternal Land. I see, when did I let this kid copy the sword intention left by my sword? Li Bai said secretly in his heart. Not bad sword intent, but, it's a pity, this is only 1/10,000th. Li Bai said slowly to the sword immortal. Huh? What do you mean only 1/10,000th? The sword fairy said doubtfully. That's the literal meaning. However, I really didn't expect that you and I are still somewhat destined. I have to say that your talent is very evil, more evil than any creature I have ever seen, even if you have double pupils and green eyes. People like the Emperor are not as good as you. Li Bai said with a smile. Double pupils, Kingdi. Are you talking about the invincible double eyes and the chaos Jinglian emperor of the immortal realm? Sword Immortal asks slowly. Nonsense, otherwise who in the world would be qualified to be called the invincible Chongtong and Kingdi? Well, I have some impression of these two. I remember that they were both creatures who were in the top 100 of the Eternal Emperor list, and they were all creatures of the Chaos era. It's just a pity that in the end, they seemed to have entered some terrifying place and disappeared. However, from your tone, you seem to be very familiar with them. Also, what do you mean by, I have a little fate with you? I can be sure that I haven't seen you for countless epochs. The Sword Immortal stared at Li Bai and asked. Forget it, today I will teach you the sword well. Twilight of the gods, the demise of all worlds. Watch out, this is how this sword is used. Li Bai said softly, and then he also put his fingers together as a sword and slashed it out with a sword. Boom! In an instant, the Sword Immortal was stunned. He could feel that an identical sword intent burst out from the sword tip seed, but this sword was much stronger than his own, or it was not at the same level at all. At the moment when the swords of both sides clashed, the sword of the Sword Immortal disappeared without a trace. If the sword of the Sword Immortal could destroy the eternal upper world, then Li Bai's sword could truly destroy the heavens and the worlds, a complete origin world. This is the difference between the two sides. At this moment, the Sword Immortal had only one thought in his heart, that even if his own body descended, he would still die and could not escape the shroud of death. Under this sword, it is estimated that only the real originator can block it. And how many originators can there be in an origin world? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Start, Invincible, met the Empress's apprentice. Author, Ben Pao de la Chang. Chapter 346. Just when this sword will was about to kill the Sword Immortal, Li Bai waved his hand, and in an instant, this wisp of sword will disappeared without a trace, as if it had never appeared. See clearly, this is the true meaning of this sword. After a long time, the Sword Immortal came back to his senses and remembered the scene he saw at that time. Then, he stared at Li Bai, stuttering and trembling, and said, "You are that senior. The senior who destroyed the eternal land. Yes, it seems that you are not stupid, which is why I said that you and I have a little fate." Li Bai said with a smile. As for Iargozi and Ling Mei, they had already fallen into confusion. The two looked dazed, as if saying, "Who am I, where am I, and what am I going to do? What's going on? The sword intent of the master just now, why does it feel countless times stronger than that of the Sword Immortal? It seems that the sword intent that the Sword Immortal said should have been left by the adults. This Sword Immortal is so talented that he can actually comprehend the sword intent from the adult's sword." Ling Mei shook his head and said, Then, the master's strength. I said, never doubt the adult's strength, you can't imagine." Ling Mei nodded slightly and said, "Woo woo woo, what kind of shit luck do I have, how can I follow the master?" Iargozi howled to the sky, feeling like he was in a dream. "I didn't expect that he, the nine-headed lion, would be able to climb such an existence one day." On the other side, a moment later, the Sword Immortal grinned, laughing wildly, venting his inner emotions, and even a tear fell from the corner of his eye. At this moment, he didn't feel a trace of frustration in his heart, but felt extremely honored. "I found it. I finally met you, senior. Ever since I copied the sword intent, I have always wanted to personally meet the existence of the people who restored the eternal land." Boom. The next moment, the Sword Immortal knelt down on both knees, with an extremely respectful look, as if he was Li Bai's most devout believer. "Junior, Sword Immortal, meet you, senior." If it weren't for the sword intent of the senior, the sword immortal would never have come this far. The sword immortal's voice was not loud, but it contained unspeakable excitement. Get up, you can comprehend the sword intent, it depends on you, it has nothing to do with me. Li Bai said slowly. No matter what, the junior is indebted to your sword intent, please accept this bow. The sword immortal said very firmly. In his heart, Li Bai has become his master, although Li Bai may not think so. After all, if it is said in this way, Li Bai doesn't know how many disciples he has. Which of the creatures that Li Bai knows has not been taught by Li Bai? In that case, I'll take it. Get up, I have something to ask you. After hearing this, Li Bai no longer refused, after all, he was used to it. Senior, please tell me. Why did you create this road to immortality? Li Bai asked slowly. Senior, to be honest, the most important reason is to find an heir, but no one has been able to inherit it for countless years. I did meet some extremely evil geniuses before, but in my opinion, they are not worthy of inheriting the sword intent. The sword fairy said respectfully to Li Bai. So, you witnessed with your own eyes that I destroyed the eternal land and the destruction of the monster origin realm. Yes, sir, at that time, I had just been promoted to a pioneer, and naturally wanted to step into a bigger world. Since you want to find a successor now, could it be that you have fallen? Li Bai said slowly. Senior, I don't know how to answer your question. For now, I'm not dead, but, I'm almost dead. A trace of loneliness flashed in the eyes of the sword immortal. Tell me in detail. Senior, do you know about the War of Origin? Then, the sword immortal asked carefully. Hearing this word, Li Bai looked at the sword immortal deeply and said slowly. Do you think I don't know? This is not a secret. That's right. Go on. At that time, in order to trace the source of this war and some secrets that I didn't know, I deliberately found a battlefield at that time, and found something. What is it? Hearing this, Li Bai also became interested. You know, he was one of the participants in the War of Origin at that time. Later, when he cleaned the battlefield, he didn't encounter any buried things. A secret about the originator. After a long time, the sword immortal spoke. In an instant, a glimmer of light flashed in Li Bai's eyes, which were originally calm. Speak. Li Bai's voice was extremely serious. The records in that paragraph are very one-sided and fragmentary, but the general meaning is that all the originators are the products of an experiment. Speaking of this, the sword immortal's tone became extremely trembling, because he spent countless epochs to reluctantly accept this information. After hearing this, Li Bai could no longer hold back his emotions. His breathing became rapid, as if he had obtained some great secret. He said in a very heavy tone. You mean, the product after the experiment and creation? Yes, Senior, but the creatures that created the origin were finally backfired and cleared everything at the same time. And, at the end of this text, the signature is noted, one of the experimenters, Twilight Kingdom. At the same time, after I finished reading this, I seemed to be sucked into an inexplicable space, and my soul fell into a deep sleep forever. Fortunately, I still had this clone at that time. However, until now, I still don't believe this passage, so you don't have to care too much, Senior. After the sword fairy finished speaking, he slowly looked at Li Bai, but found that the other party's expression was shaking constantly. At this moment, the only word in Li Bai's mind was the Twilight Kingdom. Since Li Bai had memories until now, this is definitely the most important news he has ever heard, without a doubt, and it can also completely connect some of his previous speculations. First of all, why are these originators so opposed and obstruct their experiments in every possible way? It turns out that it is because of fear. Although they finally retaliated against the people who created them, they also left an indelible mark in their hearts. Otherwise, in order to conceal this past. Second, the Twilight Kingdom is definitely deeply connected to him. Even, maybe he was one of the people who participated in the experiment in this Twilight Kingdom, or the controller of the Twilight Kingdom. At this moment, relying only on these 2 points, the haze ahead of him on the road to finding the answer seems to have gradually faded a little. So, this is the secret they have to protect even if they die. Haha, it's really interesting, ha 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 ha. Then, Li Bai's laughter spread throughout the space. Thanks to the Master, 3368592 for the Master certification. Wow, my family received it for the first time. I am so excited. I will take a day off tomorrow. I will stay up late tonight to write the manuscript tomorrow. I will update 10 times, otherwise, I will be sorry for the gift from the Master. Thanks to everyone for their gifts. Start, Invincible, met the Empress's apprentice. Author, Ben Pao de la Chang. Chapter 347. Senior, you. The Sword Immortal was extremely confused at this moment and didn't understand why Li Bai suddenly laughed wildly. Sorry, I lost my temper. Is there another person who knows this secret? Immediately, Li Bai restrained his emotions and asked seriously. This secret is related to his own answer. If a third person knows it, he must kill it. As for the Sword Immortal, he has no such plan at the moment. After all, with the strength of the Sword Immortal, he can also join his plan. Of course, the premise is that he is his true self. Seeing this scene, the Sword Fairy had to sigh. These big shots changed their faces so quickly. No, you are the first person besides me to know this news. Yes, this news is very important to me. Tell me what you want. Li Bai said with a smile. Ah, the junior told me this news, but he didn't. Stop farting. No living creature, not even the originator, can escape the shadow of desire. It's just that the temptation conditions are not enough. Just say so. In that case, Senior, I wonder if you can help me meet my daughter. After hearing this, the Sword Fairy no longer hesitated and expressed his request. You still have a daughter? Li Bai said suspiciously. Ahem, Senior, don't look at me like that, I am a man after all. The Sword Fairy scratched his head and said. What's your daughter's name? Len Yuan. Len Yuan, the surname is Leng. The only one you can fancy is that race, right? Yes, Senior, her mother is the goddess of the Leng tribe, Leng Wushuan. Not bad, I can actually pick up the goddess of the origin race. Li Bai said with appreciation that although the Leng tribe is not at the top of the entire origin race, or even at the bottom, as long as they are an origin race, no one is easy to mess with. After all, the representatives of the origin race have participated in the Battle of Origin. Moreover, there have been several creators, a ruler, and even higher-level figures in the clan. These races are much stronger than races such as the Spirit race, the Ancient race, and the Celestial race. There is no comparability between the two sides in terms of top combat power. Hee, I can't help it. Who makes me handsome? Moreover, she also said that my voice is the best. Well, you two are indeed a good match. Li Bai twitched the corner of his mouth and said, the voice of the Sword Immortal can't even compare to De Wang's scream. No problem, if I see her in the future, I will go see her. By the way, sir, I still don't know your name. Can you tell me your name? The Sword Immortal only remembered this matter at this moment and asked slowly. You should have heard my name. Li Bai. Li Bai said lightly. And these 3 words seemed to have a magical power, which instantly made the Sword Fairy's eyes widen. You are the one in the immortal realm, the one behind the Emperor's Fall War. That's right. Hiss, I didn't expect that it was you who destroyed the Eternal Land. The Sword Immortal said in disbelief. After all, he had heard some things about Li Bai before, but the scope was only limited to the immortal domain and the outer domain. Haha, don't you feel surprised? After all, most of the rumors about me are limited to the fairyland and all the worlds. Well, there is indeed a point. However, my lord, why did you come to the eternal upper realm? As far as I know, you seem to have never been to the eternal upper realm before. Because, the Eldar. Eldar. That's right. How much do you know about the spirit race? Li Bai said slowly. Villain, a group of despicable and shameless villains. The way of heaven that once existed in the upper world has been destroyed by these villains. If it weren't for the supervisors, I would have wanted to punish them. The Sword Immortal's tone left no room for doubt. After all, with his strength, it would be impossible to destroy the Spirit Clan, but it would set back the Spirit Clan's strength by countless epochs. It's very pertinent, but it doesn't prevent them from becoming the victor in the end and plundering the upper realm for countless epochs. However, it's a pity that they took some things they shouldn't have taken and used them without permission. Li Bai changed the subject, as if he had already sentenced the spiritual clan to death. Sir, could it be that you want to? But, after all, the spirit race is the eternal controller of the upper world. I'm afraid those supervisors will come forward to stop us. The Sword Immortal said anxiously. It's not like I haven't seen the Overseer before, he's just the bastard of the originator. Moreover, in front of him, I have already destroyed the Outland. It's not like they haven't farted at all. Li Bai said in a contemptuous tone. Damn it, sir, you are so awesome, this is so damn good. You slapped the supervisor in the face. Xuanhuan said with his eyes widened, and then he had a bitter look on his face. Listen, these are human words. The supervisor is just a loser. It is estimated that only Li Bai dares to say it. You must know that there are many beings in the world who can destroy a region, but why has it almost never happened for countless epochs? It is because of the origin monitors. They are like Damocles hanging over the heads of people like the Sword Immortal. Sword of Si. You can occupy a domain, but you must not destroy it, because destruction will affect their interests. In that case, I congratulate you first. After all, with your strength, it is easy to destroy the spirit race. The Sword Fairy bowed respectfully to Li Bai. Well, in that case, I should leave. I have to say that meeting you this time really gave me a big surprise. Your secret is very important to me. Since you can already copy my sword intent, let you deserve it. After saying that, Li Bai pointed at the Sword Fairy. In an instant, the complete version of the sword appeared in the Sword Fairy's mind. Not only that, he seemed to see the scene of Li Bai killing the creatures in the Eternal Land with one sword again, but this time it seemed that he was the one who cast this sword. Alas, you are worthy of being an adult. I have copied for countless years, but in the end, I can't catch up with 1/10,000th of it. I said, you are already very good. Well, you slowly comprehend it, we leave first. Junior, I bid you farewell, I hope we can meet again. There will be a moment. Li Bai smiled slightly, stretched out his big hand directly to the distance, grabbed Ling Mei and Urguzi, and disappeared in this space. Start, Invincible, met the Empress's apprentice. Author, Ben Pao de la Chang. Chapter 348. Look, these three seniors are back. With the arrival of a burst of immortal light, the figures of Li Bai and the others have returned to the road to immortality. I'm so curious, what is there among these 1,000 steps? I want to know too, but at present, it seems that this is not something we can know at all. Indeed, we are not qualified. Forget it, the road to immortality is finally over. Tisk, tisk, this time, although I was eliminated, it was still a feast for the eyes, especially the battle between Qin Feng and others and the current emperor's son and daughter. This time, There are 2 more emperors in the Immortal Sword Heavenly Palace. Those who made successful bets will make a lot of money. Everyone said something, and I said something. Although Li Bai and the other 3 successfully climbed to the top of the 1000th floor, after all, the other party is the great emperor. Is it possible that an adult can still stoop to be the emperor of the Immortal Sword Palace, or the emperor? Therefore, the 3 Li Bai people have been ignored by everyone. Not only that, the discussion about them has almost disappeared. The reason, of course, needless to say. At this moment, the void in front of Li Bai and the others was slowly torn apart, and then, Xuanhuan stepped out of the void with a look of respect and fear on his face. Junior, Xuanhuan, I have met Senior. Xuanhuan's posture was very low, without any dignity that an immortal emperor should have. At the same time, he did not dare to ask anything about what happened and what was in the 1000 levels of the road to immortality. After all, he does not have the qualifications now. Well, don't worry, I said there will be things you want to know after the road to immortality is over, let's go. Okay, Senior, our ancestor has been waiting for you for a long time, please come with me. After saying that, Xuanhuan took Li Bai and the 3 of them and disappeared. After a long time. Okay, everyone, the road to becoming an immortal is over. Congratulations. Some of you have become members of our Immortal Sword and Heavenly Palace. Later, there will be people from the Immortal Sword and Heavenly Palace who will lead you to familiarize yourself with everything here. As for those who fail, don't be discouraged. Maybe you will have a chance next time. In the words of the Quasi-Emperor Elder, this time the road to immortality came to an end. Some people are happy, some are sad, and sometimes people's emotions are not the same. Oh, if I had known earlier, I would have bet more on Qin Feng. After all, I am betting on the throne. Hee, I made a little profit from my bet on Dugukaiwafei. Although it's not much, it's enough. By the way, I wonder if anyone has placed bets on these 3 adults. I remember that one of the saints bet on the man in white. Damn it, this is taking off. How many crystal coins does it cost? Let's say less than a few 100 million. On the other side, Jian Wuifeng said to Qin Feng and Dugu Kaiubai. Okay, 2 junior brothers, let me take you to the Emperor's mansion and explain some of the rules of our Fairy Sword Heavenly Palace. Well, thank you very much, senior brother Wuifeng. Thank you, senior brother. However, at this moment, Xuanhuan suddenly grabbed the corner of Jian Wuifeng's clothes and pursed her lips. Her flawless face was full of panic, and at the same time, a struggling look flashed in her eyes, as if she was doing something huge. Decision. Huh? What's wrong, Wan'er? Jian Wuifeng frowned slightly. This was the first time he saw such a look in Xuanhuan's eyes, and he suddenly felt extremely curious. After a long time, Xuanhuan lightly opened her red lips and exhaled like orchid. Jian Wuifeng, can you tell the palace master to let me meet the senior in white? I really want to see him. After finishing speaking, Xuanhuan lowered her head unconsciously, as if this matter was something unspeakable. Hiss, I heard you right, what did Wan'er just say? Mu11's eyes widened as she met Xuanhuan for the first time. In her impression, Xuanhuan had always been extremely cold towards anyone, even the palace master. This was her first time. The first time I said in person that I wanted to meet someone, it was as if the iron tree was blooming. Tisk, tisk, it seems that sometimes the Supreme Being is ruthless but not ruthless. Isn't there another point? I'm lovelorn. Only Chen Tian's painful world appeared. After all, he had always loved Xuanhuan. Don't worry, even without the senior in white, Wan'er wouldn't be able to fall in love with you. After all, you are not handsome, your strength is not that good, your talent is just that, your family is not an imperial family. Mu11 patted Chen Tian on the shoulder and said comfortingly. You're so good at comforting people, you're going to die, don't say it again from now on. Chen Tian had a heartbroken expression on his face. Can you tell me why? Xuanhuan asked after thinking for a long time. I don't know either, but, I just want to meet him. Oh, oh. Hearing these words, Chen Tian was heartbroken again. Well, in that case, I will talk to my father later and ask him to convey it to the senior, but, the other party is an emperor after all, so you have to be prepared. Xuanhuan nodded and said. Yeah, I know. At this moment, Chen Tian looked at Xuanhuan and said. Huaner, are you emotional? This is none of your business. Xuanhuan's expression immediately returned to its previous cold state of not being near strangers. In that case, why can't you look back at me, even just once? Chen Tian said bitterly. Chen Tian, I told you that I don't have any feelings for you, and I advise you to give up as soon as possible. Also, we are not that close. After Xuanhuan finished speaking, she left directly. Hey, old Chen, why bother? You also know that Xuanhuan is practicing to be extremely ruthless, and her personality is extremely cold. Bai Zhu patted Chen Tian on the shoulder and said. I said, Emperor Chen Tian, you are also an emperor after all. You have the potential to become an emperor. Why are you so greedy for one person? There are so many stunning women in the world. If it doesn't work, look at my sister. There is no need for this cold mountain, and the eternal body will be perfect in the future, and not only that, I haven't been in love yet. Qin Feng also comforted him. You know nothing, Xiao Fengzi, the first move when you get ashore is to kill the person you like first. If you don't have a woman in your heart, draw your sword to the god of nature. Gugu Kaubei retorted from the side. You idiot, you are a single person who has never been in love. Do you know what love is? Have you ever tasted the bitterness and sweetness of love? Qin Feng said arrogantly. You don't understand. Ever since Xuanhuan saved me, she is the only one in my heart. No matter what, I will wait. Even if you can look back at me, it is enough. Although, I also know that there is no relationship between us. It's impossible. You are really love-minded, you are hopeless. Afterwards, everyone took Qin Feng and Dugu Kaiubai to their respective mansions. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Start, Invincible, met the Empress's apprentice. Author, Ben Pao de la Chang. Chapter 349. Soon, the news spread like wildfire that someone had climbed to the top of the Immortal Sword Heavenly Palace's Immortal Road. In an instant, countless forces in the entire Immortal Sword State were in an uproar. They know how difficult it is to ascend the path to immortality in the Immortal Sword Heavenly Palace. Since the beginning of this era, the path to ascending to immortality has appeared dozens of times, but there are only 6 emperors. As for the emperor and the goddess, no one who can come close has appeared. Now there are actually people. How can one not be surprised to reach the top and emerge 1,000 levels? Holy crap, it's true, someone actually climbed to the top. Great, our fairy sword state can finally have another emperor. Stop dreaming, there is no emperor, no emperor. Ah, why, haven't they all reached the top? Because, there are 3 people who have reached the top, and, these 3 are emperors. Not only that, even the current palace master respects them extremely. On the other side, the top forces in the remaining 12 states also received the news in time. How is this possible? Since ancient times, the road to immortality has only had 999 levels. What's going on with these 1,000 levels? Perhaps it is a cover released by the immortal sword Tiangong. After all, the strength of the 13 prefectures and the immortal sword prefecture is getting weaker and weaker. If it were not for the blessing of the immortal sword Tiangong, the entire immortal sword prefecture would probably only be ranked at the bottom. Impossible. After all, fairy sword Tiangong is one of the top forces in the upper world. There is no need to do this. Do you know who climbed to the top? Let's see if we can dig him out. Stop dreaming. Do you know who is the one who climbed to the top? Who? 3. Emperors. This is not the most surprising thing. The most shocking thing is that Xuanhuan respects these 3 emperors very much and invites them to the heavenly palace to discuss it. I heard that even the old immortal sleeping in their heavenly palace, everyone is awake. Suddenly, all the top forces seemed to have a tacit understanding and did not continue to discuss the news, but they secretly sent countless spies to Fairy Sword State, trying to understand something clearly. After all, the 3 great emperors concealed their identities and embarked on the road to immortality, and also opened 1,000 levels. If you want to say that there is nothing in it, even ghosts will not believe it. At this moment, in the heavenly palace, under the leadership of Xuanhuan, Li Bai and the others passed through layers of obstacles and finally arrived at the deepest point. Here is a small world similar to the deep space universe. Looking at it, the place where the sky and the universe meet is extremely transparent. Countless stars are constantly dying in this inner universe, and then a new one appears. However, there is no life in this small world, only the power of some basic laws and the blessing of the power of the universe. This inner universe feels far worse than Sister Ling Ai's. Urgoza said slowly. Indeed, whether it is the laws or the Great Road here, I feel that there is a loss. It is basically difficult to derive life. This is not the inner universe. If I guessed correctly, this should be your first palace master, using a stone. The purpose of creating a separate space is to sleep better, right? Li Bai said lightly. As expected of a senior, it is true. This is the deepest part of the heavenly palace, and it is also where our ancestors sleep. Even if the immortal sword heavenly palace is breached, this place cannot be breached unless the opponent's strength exceeds the permission of all heavens and worlds. Xuanhuan said at the side. He didn't expect that the other party could recognize this place at a glance. Stone, what kind of stone is so awesome? Urgozi asked doubtfully from the side. Urgozi, don't ask too many questions. Ling Biao scolded from the side. At this moment, Jianxi and third ancestor slowly appeared beside a few people. Surprisingly, unlike Jianxi's rickety figure, the third ancestor turned out to be a slim girl with skin as smooth as gelatin and snow-white jade feet that fell lightly to the ground. She was not stained by dust. She was dressed in a blue close-fitting narcissus dress that made her figure look slimmer. The outline is uneven, with 3,000 green ink silk draped behind her. Every frown and smile is stunning. Anyone who sees it will say, it's unparalleled in beauty. Of course, this girl doesn't know how many epochs she has lived. You 3, I've been waiting for you for a long time. My name is Xuanxi, and I am the palace master of the previous generation of Heavenly Palace. This one is our third ancestor. Xuanxi pointed at the girl beside him. Hello, my name is Niao Niao. The voice of the third patriarch is like the gentle breeze caressing a wind chime, crisp yet refreshing. Yes, although you are supreme, you have already stepped into the forefront. It will not take long, and you should be able to completely step into the precedence. It's just, your path to the forefront is a bit difficult. Li Bai glanced at Nian Niao and said slowly. At first I didn't believe what Jianxi and Xiao Henza said, but now I do. I didn't expect that senior could see my realm at a glance and also know my way forward. Niao Niao took a deep look. The man in white with aloof temperament in front of her had an unknown look in her eyes. She didn't want to see through him, but she was disappointed. She couldn't see through anything. Three of you, I wonder if you can tell Niao Niao your true identities. Of course, if you don't want to say it, you won't force it? He said with a faint smile. Hearing this, Guzi and Ling Ye glanced at Li Bai. No problem. Senior Neo Nio, my name is Guzi, I am from the nine-headed lion lineage, and my realm is only a great emperor. Ling Mei, supreme. Ling Mei said lightly. Jian Shi and Xuanhuan were shocked and widened their eyes after hearing Ling Mei's realm. They knew that the other party was at the realm of the great emperor, but they didn't expect that this woman was actually a supreme. Especially Jian Shi, he felt that the whole world was not good. Ling Mei looked younger than him, but she was already a supreme. Start, Invincible, met the Empress's apprentice. Author, Ben Pao de la Chang. Chapter 350. Ling Biao, you are a member of the Spirit Clan. Let me tell you, why do I feel like there is an aura on you that I hate? After Niao Niao heard the name, he said with a bad look. Immediately, after Ling Ye explained, the three of them were shocked. Damn it, Eternal Land, you are actually from Eternal Land. Damn it, I actually met a legendary figure. Damn it, these spirit tribes deserve to be damned. They are indeed a bunch of villains. As for Niao Niao, she walked up to Ling Biao and gently held Ling Biao's right hand, her eyes full of sympathy. Sister Ling Ai, don't worry. When I step into the Forerunners, I will go find them to settle accounts. Anyway, I have a grudge against them. Thank you, Sister Niao Niao, but I still want the hand blade. Ling Biao said firmly. Don't worry, I'll seal them all when the time comes, so you can enjoy yourself. After finishing speaking, she glanced at Li Bai. She knew that among the three of them, this man in white was the absolute boss. It's your turn, sir. Niao Niao said softly. In this regard, Li Bai did not intend to hide anything, and said three words with a smile. Li Bai. After hearing this word, Jian Shi and Niao Niao were stunned for a moment. Then they felt that the name was very familiar, but they couldn't remember it. Only Xuanhuan. After hearing the name, they broke out in cold sweat and looked like they had seen a ghost. His expression and pupils were constantly trembling, as if he couldn't believe what he was hearing. After all, he did not fall into a deep sleep. What's more, some time ago, Li Bai fought with the Outer Territory, and in the end, the news of the destruction of the Outer Territory had already spread throughout the world, not to mention that there were ancient tribes in that war. How could he not know about the addition of the Ming clan and the Spirit clan? Even now, this news still seems to be lingering in my ears. I always feel that this name is very familiar, but I can't remember it. Third ancestor, where are you? Jian Shi glanced at it and said softly. Well, the same is true for me. I must have been sleeping for too long and have Alzheimer's disease. Ah, no, I'm not in love yet. Niao Niao said while rubbing her hair. At this time, Xuanhuan faced the two ancestors and said tremblingly. Ancestor, Immortal Realm, the Battle of Emperor Luo. And you have forgotten, what I told you, some time ago, things happened in the Outland. Boom. These words were like a meteorite falling into their hearts, causing shocking waves. They are all too familiar with the Battle of Emperor Luo. After all, this is known as the most brutal battle in all the worlds. Even the battle that took place when the Boundless Sea invaded the Immortal Realm back then was not as good as the Battle of Emperor Luo. War. Hum. Hum. The two said in unison. You are the one, the Emperor in white. White-clothed Emperor, white-clothed Emperor, it's actually white-clothed Emperor. He muttered to himself. As a supreme being, she has lived for a long time, and she is even more aware of the horror of Li Bai. No one knows his strength, and no one knows how terrifying he is. He is as strong as darkness, and they are helpless against him. Moreover, all in the Tianwan realm, whether it is the Qing Emperor, the Chongtong Emperor or others who have been on the Eternal Emperor ranking, he has taught them all with his own hands. Afterwards, the three people immediately said respectfully, Niao Niao, I have seen the White Emperor. Sword 11, I have seen the Emperor in white. Xuanhuan, I have seen the white-clothed Emperor. Get up, Emperor in white. This is all a matter of the past era. You can just call me young master. Li Bai waved his hand and said, Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Just after the three of them finished speaking, the world seemed to have fallen into a dead silence. The three of them did not dare to speak first. And Li Bai seemed to be used to such scenes, and said slowly, Aren't you curious about what we saw on the 1000th floor? Young master, I am indeed very curious, but I don't dare to ask. Niao Niao said with a frustrated face. You can just treat me as an ordinary emperor. I'm not some man-eating beast. There's no need to be like this. Li Bai said. Hearing these words, Jian Xi and Jian Wuhan twitched in their hearts. Listen, are these human words? Ordinary emperor, what is your identity, and what are our identities? Niao rolled her eyes. It would be okay if she didn't know his identity. Now that she knows Li Bai's identity, how can she maintain a calm Taoist heart? It would be great if she doesn't get scared to death. Seeing such a scene, Li Bai helplessly started chatting with everyone. After an unknown amount of time, the three of them felt that Li Bai was indeed not that scary anymore. They felt like they were good again. Now, do you still think I'm scary? Young master, you are annoying. After all, whoever hears your name is not afraid. Niao Niao said quietly. Okay, stop pretending, you have lived for so many generations, why are you still like a little girl? Snored. Niao Niao rolled her eyes, it doesn't matter how many ages she has lived, she hasn't been in love yet. Sir, what did you see on the 1000th floor? Jian Shi was still on the side, hurriedly bringing the topic to the right track. Your ancestor, the sword immortal. Upon hearing these words, the eyes of the three Niao people suddenly burst out with unparalleled light, and their breathing became rapid. Sir, have you really met the sword immortal ancestor? Niao Niao asked in disbelief. Of course, why would I lie to you? Sir, the ancestor of the sword immortal is still alive. After a long time, Niao Niao asked the question he was most concerned about. You can be considered alive, but you can't find them. Li Bai said lightly. That's enough, that's enough. It's enough to know that the sword immortal ancestor is still alive. Great, this is definitely the most exciting news. Sir, what have you been talking about? Niao Niao asked impatiently. It's not much, but after talking with him, I found one thing. What's the matter? Niao Niao said with widened eyes. Strictly speaking, sword immortal can be regarded as my half-apprentice.